ZRG Exchange, uma troca de ideias sobre gestão, liderança e empresas.
Hello, welcome to our new episode of a ZRG podcast called ZRG Exchange. And today with a special guest, Caroline Taylor, my partner within ZRG, a recent acquisition of our company. Proud to be here and listening to you and share some ideas about recruitment as a tool to shape the culture. Is that it, Caroline?
Yes, it is it. And I'm so glad to be with you. It's been so exciting to join ZRG and to bring my company Walking the Talk into the ZRG family and to be here in Brazil this week, partnering for the first time and really thinking about how we can improve recruitment as well as in our quest to shape cultures.
So when did it start culture as a powerful tool to achieve strategic goals with the companies?
I think here in Brazil, it's been some of the most enlightened companies were starting to do that work perhaps 15 years ago, to really realize that they could shape the behavior of their people in a way that would support their strategy and their performance goals. In that 15 years I've been coming here now since 2005, I have found now today that most organizations, most boards of directors, most senior executive teams realize that their culture can either be a tremendous asset and a competitive advantage, or it can be a risk to their reputation, a risk to the way that they perform, or the way they operate their sustainability agenda or other key goals that they may have.
And culture nowadays, speak about that for a while, then we jump into other directions.
Well, I think nowadays we are talking about, I mean, I know at the moment everyone is thinking about the pandemic, and of course the pandemic has influenced how people are able to connect with each other. It's also really made us think very hard about inclusion and how do we include people when we're not face to face with them. But I think I'd like to focus more about how we emerge out of the pandemic, because the pandemic is going to end by next year sometime. We will be perhaps more back to normal, even if in a hybrid way. And in the future, if you're really thinking about shaping the behaviors that you need, that is a process that is going to take you 2-3 years to achieve that. So it's something that if you're not doing it already, you can start now and then emerge with something as you come back from the pandemic, which is more the way that you want it. Because that's how I define culture. We define at Walking the Talk culture as being the patterns of behavior, the way people behave, and whether or not those patterns of behavior support what you're trying to do as a business or whether they impede it. And that's where we start.
And when you think about our partnership, after all these years with Walking the Talk, why joining ZRG, and what do you foresee as the output of this relationship for our clients?
Well, I think we always knew, and we've always told our clients, that recruitment was one of the major tools they had to shape their culture. But we would say that, and then we wouldn't follow up, because we didn't have anything to say beyond that. We didn't have a recruitment offering ourselves. I mean, we have 9 different tools that we suggest that people use. Recruitment is one of them. Leadership development is another. Looking at the way you reward performance is a third. And there are several others that go from there. But recruitment is a powerful one. So joining with a recruitment firm made sense. That was the first thing. And the second thing that we loved about ZRG is that you are just at the right size to be innovative in the way that you offer things to clients. And so we're starting already to consider, how do we transform, how do we rethink the process of recruitment so that it is being consciously used as a tool for shaping culture.
not only recruitment, but also assessment, right? Because how do you assess the talent pool that you have inside or outside the company, right?
Yeah, I think you have to think about both of those pieces, because I mean, the reason for that is if everyone who's listening to this podcast, some of you will have an organization where you have a culture that you love. It's great, it's serving you well, but you're growing very fast. And so the risk is that you're bringing in new people in order to grow. You're having to recruit new people. The risk is that those new people may come from bigger organizations and will gradually start to erode and make the culture that you have less good. So that's one group of listeners. The other group of listeners will be people whose culture is no longer serving them. They have a different strategy and they need a different culture to support that strategy. Now, in both cases, the reason I say recruitment shapes culture is because when you bring new people into key roles, or when you promote people from inside into key roles, so it's an internal or an external promotion, you're sending a very, very important signal. And what that signal is these are the people who we value today. Because whenever there's a vacancy, everyone is looking to see who's going to fill it. And let's say that you have a culture that is, you want to develop a culture which is very one team, very collaborative. You've got a strategy of wanting to be a one global business or whatever. And so you're looking for that that's the cultural aspiration. And then you have a vacancy and you put somebody into that vacancy, whether it's an internal hire, promotion, or an external recruitment, who is arrogant, self-serving and individualistic, but maybe great at sales or great at technically doing the job. Everyone else in your company will look at that, whether they are at home or in the office, by the way, because these messages pass very quickly around the world, around your organization. People will look and say, so they weren't really serious about wanting a one-team culture, because look who they've just hired into that role. This person is arrogant and individualistic, and so all of the effort that you put into communicating that you want this sort of culture is undermined if you recruit people or promote people who don't fit that. And it's a very, very common thing that happens, because you might promote somebody because they've got, say, good sales figures, or you might recruit somebody because they've got a technical background in what you want. But what we're suggesting is that whether or not this person is going to contribute to the culture, whether it's a future aspirational culture or a current culture you don't want to lose, is critical. And so what we're going to be able to do now, Dennis, as a combination, and we've been talking about this together, is help use Walking the Talk's deeper expertise about the mindsets and the behaviors that you need for certain types of culture. And we have 6 archetypes we focus on: achievement, one team, innovation, people first, greater good, and customer centric. I think that was the 6th. And so what is the culture that you aspire to? And then being able to assess people. And we've got a huge database of the mindsets and behaviors. Just to give you one example, I'd said before about one team, people who are contributors to one team. One of the mindsets is a mindset of generosity. Now, you might not necessarily immediately think that, but you're looking for people who genuinely believe and who live their life about wanting to be generous with their time, generous with other people, helping other people to succeed. And that mindset will produce people who fit in a one-team culture. But people who are selfish are not. So that, I'll just give you that as one example. We've got this whole database. And so I think together, ZRG Walking the Talk, your consultants can interview for that, your consultants can train up your hiring managers, your client managers, to interview for the characteristics that they need. And that just makes the slate of candidates completely different. And if we also assess your internal candidates using the same methodology, suddenly you've got a very different lens to look at people through. It's an additional dimension, and there's nobody in the market who has the depth of knowledge that Walking the Talk has about the mindsets and behaviors you need for certain cultures to achieve your goals. And together with your great recruitment team, we feel it's going to be a unique offering.
That's amazing. Yeah, I like to hear that. And the more I listen to you, the more excited I get with all
and me with you too.
Well, thank you very much, Callan, for your time today. And I hope you have a safe trip back home.
Thank you. And of course, we have a local team here as well, so we won't be completely abandoning you.
I know. Right. So thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.